Good morning, Americans. This is your favorite alien and Baba here on Thursday, October 24th. Next week is All Hallows Eve, huh? Well, speaking of nightmares, uh, I wanted to do a video today and answer some questions about yesterday's video on Turkey. A few people called me up and said, "You're the Turkey. What do you mean that NATO's in trouble? That's the finest fighting force around." Really? Well, let me explain how NATO got itself in serious trouble here. Okay, so here we go. NATO was established in 1949 by then President, give him hell Harry. Yeah, well, from 1949 to 1991, the US and Russia played a game called poker, or the Soviet Union at the time. Oh, and by the way, Americans, your American government lied to you, okay? When Russia invaded the Crimea and Putin got back the Crimea to Russia, it belonged to them. Literally, it was never part of the Ukraine. It was ceded to the Ukraine by Khrushchev in the 1950s. That was a stupid mistake by Khrushchev. That's why you got, Russia and the Crimea. Don't you remember the Crimea War of 1850s? With the famous poem that was written there with cannons to the right and cannons to the left and cannons in front of us. Yeah, remember that? Well, that's why. It was part of Russia then, and that's why it's part of Russia now, because it's always been part of Russia. Except for stupid Khrushchev, who gave it over to the Ukraine, because the Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union, remember? Ukraine SSR. Ukraine has never been a solid state. It's always been Russia's equivalent of the U.S.'s Cuba. And you know how that is. The U.S. uses Cuba as a whipping boy. Well, that's the same thing as Russia. But Russia also used Kiev as Russia's breadbasket, something you don't know. So that explains part of the problem with NATO here, okay? So let's go. From 1949 to 1991, the U.S. and Russia played poker in the Soviet Union, which caused the Soviet Union to disintegrate. Well, from 1991 to 2009, it was more like footsie by the U.S. succeeding administrations, i.e., George Herb Walker Bush, Clinton, and George W. Bush all played footsie. They invited Russia to the G7, which became the G8. Remember that? Yeah. You had Boris Yeltsin. That was the equivalent to Russia of Trump to the U.S. I mean, he was a disaster. He was a drunkard and a very disastrous guy. He was like Trump is to the U.S., a disaster. So, from 91 to 2009, that's what you had, footsie. Now, in 1997, Vladimir Putin came into the scene as a 47-year-old ex-KGB. And he looked around and he says, darn, my country's in dire straits here. I better keep on playing footsie for the time being, but secretly trying to rearm and reconstitute my forces. And he did. So when 2009 came around, he says, hey, this footsie game is no longer available here. I hate that poker game. It's an American game. I never understood it. So let's play my game, chess. So he started playing chess. Meanwhile, you Americans, when the Baltic states became, as they called themselves, independent, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, and the Ukraine, of course, can't forget about the poor guys. That's like saying in Stargate SG-1, oh, free those Jaffa, Well, that's the problem here, Americans. It's almost like seeing SG-1 here with free the Jaffa, free the Jaffa. Yeah, right. It's a stupid game you're playing. Well, anyway, so you guys invited them to NATO. Don't you forget, that's Russia's territory. What you would do if Russia invited Cuba to the Warsaw Pact or the Soviet Union? Would you have liked that? Being in your neighborhood? Now, Russia is irked that you guys have been playing in their neighborhood. And it's still irked about that because those are its players, its people. It knows it says jump and you say how high. You Americans never understood that. So Putin decided, okay, I'm going to get even with you. So he started meddling in your affairs. You've been meddling in his affairs for a long time, so why can he meddle in yours? You tell me that. You've been meddling in the Russian affairs for about 25, 30 years now by bringing Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and all the other countries. Kazakhstan, trying to bring them in there, but remember, Kazakhstan is a Russian very there. You even tried to have cozy with Georgia. And I don't mean Georgia here, I mean the other Georgia. So this is American. So from 2009, well, Putin decided, hey, we got a stupid guy named Obama there with a Secretary of State that doesn't value very much. Hillary Clinton! So let's play poker. Let's play chess. Forget about this poker game. I don't think they understand chess. And they didn't. Obama never understood chess. Heck, he never understood poker. And Hillary Clinton, you could tell, never understood any game at all, except a damsel in a dirty dress. Lewinsky. Well, then Putin got his forces all over the place. And the United States, by this time, had innovations all over the place, had two wars they were fighting, remember? Iraq and Afghanistan, you guys got your bloody nose, and Somalia, with Russia's help, of course. And you guys had bloody noses all over the place. So Putin decided, okay, let's go tit for tat. Here, I'll take Ukraine here, see what you guys do. And you guys did absolutely nothing. I'll harass Ukraine. And Trump decided, hey, you're my pal. You can do whatever you want. I'll even tell Ukraine that, hey, they got to investigate Biden so that way I can get Biden in 2020 and Russia can keep going on its own. You notice he's never condemned Russia. Well, he's his pal. Now, Trump has made a stupid mistake and he's checkmated. And here's the reason why, Americans. Now that Turkey has Russia on the south and Russia on the north of its borders, and Russia still has access to the Baltic Sea over there, remember? St. Petersburg, but it still has access to the Baltic states. It can invade them at any time. Remember 1940? It invaded them and it was gone within a week. Same here. They won't put up a fight. They never do. They never do. And Russia's invaded them a few times. So Russia gets over there. It has access to ports like Vilnius, Estonia, Riga, places like that. So it can have its fleet there. That way it has very much access to the Baltic Sea. And with Turkey being in Russia's jump how high Turkey now, it has access to the Mediterranean Sea through the Dardanelles. So Russia can launch both a land and sea invasion of NATO. And there you go, Americans. You goose is cooked. Hey, never thought of that, huh? This is your favorite alien, and Bubba, saying good day. It's too little too late, Americans. This is why you cease to exist, because you disintegrate. Russia does take over NATO, by the way. That is part of history. So like I said, this is your favorite alien, and Bubba, good day.